Watotongobuda wakananga kuchikoro sometimes usina, and then it wasn't like unongobuda unofanira kutanga wapedza ndima yekurima wozoinda. Vava vatsikirirwa namajanga, then vana mai took it as an opportunity kuti chindai vakangoshedzera kuti vagava murimo here, vakanga vakavoisi kuti munhu mupenyu chindai. Saka baba pakazopera kufukunyuka mumashanga tatoindiswa kuti tataenda kuchikoro. Didn't know what richness or anything, any other life looked. To us, life was to the horizon.
Makatanga sei company Diaspora Insurance?
I think some things feed from your background and how you perceive things and how you want to create a solution for every problem you see. In whatever little I have, I make sure I sacrifice to help the next person, and it becomes my story. One of my biggest fascination, you will not believe this.
Please say it.
One of my biggest fascination was, how can a toilet be in the house?
Tinofara kuva nemi pachirongwa My Story. Zita rangu ndinonzi Stella Musha. Muchirongwa chino tinokuunzirai nyaya, tinokuunzirai vanhu, nekuti munhu paatori iye inyaya, uye munhu wese ane nyaya. Dzimwe dzenyaya dzacho dzinotofundutsa, dzimwe dzinochemedza, dzimwe vamwe vanotokahadzika kuti pane munhu akararama kudai, asi dzimwe dzacho dzinotipa kudzidza, dzimwe dzinotikurudzira. Nhasi uno mustudio ndina Mr. Jeff Madzingo. Mr. Jeff Madzingo zita ravo ndofunga raakutozivikanwa nevanhu vazhinji, kwete muZimbabwe chete, muAfrica nekudiaspora, nekuti ivo vakatanga kampani inonzi Diaspora Insurance. Kampani iyoyo yato kampani yato nemukurumbira. Asika ngatinzwei kuti munhu ane kampani ine mukurumbira kuUK akambobva kupi, akararama sei? Mr. Madzingo makadi.
Tiripo makadi. Thank you for bringing me in.
Makakurira kupi? Ndinowanzoda kubvunza kana ari mudzimai kuti mahumbwe makatambira kupi? Imi mijenjere makaripushira kupi?
Ndakakurira kwaGutu. Kwandawi kwaMukoko. Ndokwandikakurira from all my life ndichiri mudiki kusvika tazoenda kusekondari kuboarding. Otherwise all the years were just there in the village.
Muruda kuedza kundiudza kuti nini munhu ane kampani itori yakakura zvakadaro kuUK akakurira kwaGutu?
Ndokwatikakurira tichitofudza mombe, tikatotadza kuenda kuchikoro nokuti hondo yanga yakunetsa 1978 to 1979. We didn't go to school, but we were very happy with that kind of chikoro because chikoro chachisinganakisi mazuva iwayo. Saka vakanzi chikoro chavharwa nehondo. It was quite nice kuti we can go and enjoy kusora nembudzi.
Zvichireva kuti makatomboisawo mangai muplastic reshuga here, mukatombofambawo musina bhutsu?
Yeah, it was actually more of the norm than the unusual, because ndowaitova upenyu hwacho kutoita mangai acho. Kutoita mangai acho was actually a good thing, because otherwise haigona kutoshaika. Kana kutoziva kutoti kudya muriwo une mafuta was an achievement. Otherwise waingodya, we used to call it majocho. And then sometimes you get in those days, kana mukana wakublessa iwo nemafuta enyama, we used to call them mahwahwa. I don't know whether it's a common term in Zimbabwe, but we used to call them mahwahwa. Mafuta enyama yamesa mumuriwo to flavor.
Kuti munhu abika nyama yake yakuna mafuta?
No, not mafuta.
Kutocheka ari mafuta abva panyama. White aya.
Ndo okanda mumuriwo to flavor. Saka eating sadza nemuriwo ukaita lucky rokuri nongawo. You will be the luckiest boy in the village. So it was some story. It was tough, but yeah, ndo hwahurupenyu hwacho kuti muwinter then you have to go kuchikoro and usina boots and uchifamba netsoka barefooted. Yeah, it was just a tough life, but all the same I think tough life inozoonekwa kuti tough life kana wava kuziva pretty life. On its own, tough life is just life. Saka you find kuti pamenge muchifunga kuti vanhu vari kumusha vari munhamo stereki because mune muchikwanisa kukombera to them, it's them and nehorizon. And also upbringing yedu was yanga yakatipa kuti tive nevision yekuda kuzoita bigger and do more, pakuti takakura tiri mumhuri yanga
yakakura zvakadii.
My father was a charming boy. He managed to charm 2 sisters. So in the end, we grew up in a very big family. Tatiri 18
children.
18 children surviving on peasant farming. So it wasn't easy. But by village standard, then what I, on reflection, you realize that yeah, tatichiri kutambura because tachitambura. But the bigger thing there kuti in the poverty where the parents, the older brothers, the older sisters had this vision and push to go on and do well and produce the first teacher in the whole neighborhood, the first professional in the whole neighborhood. And by village standard, even in the poverty, we were the Americas of the village.
Kumba kwao kuna teacher.
Yeah. Kumba kwao kuna teacher kauti how they used to do things. My parents used to work hard, extremely hard to see us through. But zvaibetsera kuti munokura muchiziva kuti it is through persistence, perseverance to be able to be successful in life. Success in life is not accidental. Success in life is not accidental, and even richness is not accidental. If you are rich by accident, it's more like winning a lottery, and the rich is never lasting. Yeah.
Tinoona kana munhu watokura muimba yakakura kudaro kunyanya kare pasina zvokuti munhu ndiro yake, saka imi maitoisirwawo sadza nemuriwo mune imwe plate muchinzi tonhai supu chete, muchitomboumburudza mukaona kanyama ukapusira pasaidi muchitora nesupu.
Kanenge kasimba kakanyama kacho. Kanyama kacho kane unokasunda kakaripo. Otherwise most of the time kwaingova kuita organic stuff in the village. You eat what you grow, and
pane musi yakakuti pambouraiwo huku.
The norm was huku inourayirwa vaenzi. And my moms were very generous because vaiuraya huku vamba vaidhisha yese kuvaenzi vacho. Mosigwa musoro namakumbo
nematumbu.
Those days matumbu tasaziva kuti anogona kudyiwa. Saka matumbu anga arembo.
Iye zvino izvi mwana unototi ukamuti lunch box yako hamuna chinhu panoridzwa mhere. Ende mwana wese zvino zvari kutakura seche iri kunzi ngaipinde lunch box nedrink imomo. Imi utongozva ndikugeza nekubuda here kuti matoone chamunodya kusenyi nekuti mambotanya yekuti anzi manga yacho ndonge wawana. Saka pane nguva yekuti maitongobuda wakananga kuchikoro usina. Waitongobuda wakananga kuchikoro sometimes usina, and then it wasn't like unongobuda unofanira kutanga wapedza ndima yekurima wozoinda. So it wasn't kuti unongomuka kuseni then motoita hondo yekuti chigeza uende. It wasn't like that. You probably wake up maybe kuma 3-4 meenda kumunda. Unonzwa kuti pako pauri kusakuranda papa kana usina kupedza uindi. So you find some days you then get to school late. Nokuti wanga uchipedzisa ndima yako unorohwa unzi wanonoka. And apa kumba ungasiya kusiya wapedza ndima yekurima. So I remember one year tatapedza kukohwa and tatiri kutakura majanga echibarwe. You used to call them mutano, where you put a stack yemashanga echibarwe kuitira for the winter season kusofita mombe. Saka then
would do mungoro tesa mapose on all the corners, then most keep on until they are very, very high. So we're doing that. Chipababa wachitutira vachitsikira. So it was very, very high in Ngoro. But then in the field, panenge those, it wasn't even, yeah. So going back to Tichino then to send out Chikoro. Baba got a minimum send at a pizza. Then takuinda kunotutunura tichinda Chikoro. Then going over the Mugero, we used to call them Mugero. Ngoro nomba yaita tip over. Nomba baba watsikirirwa namajanga. Baba vatsikirirwa namajanga. Then vana mai took it as an opportunity kuti chinda hii vakangoshedzera kuti vagava murimo here vakangwa mavoice kuti munhu mupenyu chinda saka baba pakazopera kufukunyuka mumashanga tatoindiswa kuti tataenda kuchikoro. But yeah, it wasn't easy. It was really a tough village life and bringing up all those kids. But the blessing was that it was a very united family. Saka people were working together, and the people, we used our numbers to do better than any other people in the whole neighborhood. Because kana taenda korima takawanda tonorima topedza. So I remember the one time when vana vekwagava, ikostainzi kwagava, vana vekwagava vanoita kunge mashamba ari mumunda
nekuwanda. I hope kuti imi bakazoitawo vakawanda muchire bababa venyu.
No, it's not something that it's not something that I can't beat him.
Makanga muine vabereki vaikoshesa dzidzo.
Yeah.
Saka even muchirima muchishanda mainzi shanda asienda kuchikoro. Muri kukura makabva chakakupai shungu yekuti makati mimi ndiri kuda kuzoita ichichi.
I think kutongokura with the focus yokuti you need to achieve something in life and you keep on pushing and you believe kuti kushanda, because sometimes kushanda at any level kunokupa that belief yokuti if I put in my effort I will harvest something. To the point in the village, the mom, the parents will have their big field, but you can also, we used to have our small piece where you can do a garden of vegetables. And you can also, in the bigger picture of the homestead, have your own huku. So kuti huku ndedzangu, ndindo make sure kuti huku yangu yakandira, huku yangu yacho yararira, yaita vana vayo, and that excitement of just doing something chinopa ma results. Although paizeta problem yekuti pakauya vaenzi, consultation was very little. Huku yako yakona ngobatwa.
Iri pamazai yoyoda yaenda.
Huku yako yakona ngobatwa yepuwa vaenzi, then iwewe ukaita like unogona kuwana umusoro. Then when we used to go things like by village standard, boys village standard, going hunting, maybe unoenda kunoita hunting yekutsvaka mashu chaidzo, grasshoppers, or crickets kuenda kochera makurwe, or kuita things like kuenda kopfura shiri. And we used to do all those things. Then pamba pedu papa ne field of sugar cane. Saka during winter sugar cane in season there will be a lot of majesa. We also raria. Saka maneru will go and shoot the majesas, the mashiri achoni. The motivation sometimes was that ndikanobata zvishoma, ndikaenda kuchera makuru ndikabata mashoma anobikirwa baba. Wavana chaunowana. Ndikaenda kopfura shiri ndikabata shoma dzinobikirwa baba. Wavana chaunowana.
Saka ndotona ndabata zvakawanda
ndicheo. Wabata enough for everyone. Otherwise, kana uri kubottom kwechain kwefood, you end up with nothing. Uri wanozvibata. So it was that life.
Right now tiri kutaura tichiseka.
Yeah.
When you were going through that, iye zvinezvi vana vedu vari kuona pa social media. Upenyu humwe vanoti ini ndikuda kuzoitawo. Imimi chii chekuti maiti taiona zvakanga zvakadai so uye maizviona papi, we should aspire to become.
It wasn't like zvamazuva nezvi kuti ndoda role model, ndoda kuzoita like who, we didn't know anything. We didn't know, it was just ourselves and our village, and then growing up there, whatever we had, like I said, yanga iri life yokuti whatever you had, we didn't realize that we poor, because we didn't know what richness or anything, any other life looked. To us, life was to the horizon, and the neighboring schools that ended chotamba nadzo mabhora. So you go to the neighboring school 5 kilometers, 7 kilometers away netsoka. Kotamba bhora munosvika meta masports acho modzoka netsoka. So it was that life. So papa sina zoti ndine role model ndikaundi nechi. It was just a life yokuti it turned out to have been modeled in a way that it inspired us to do things and push on to achieve bigger things in life. But otherwise, if I tell you this, you would think I am lying. Kuti growing up into teenagerhood, one of my biggest fascination, you would not believe this.
Please say it.
One of my biggest fascination was, how can a toilet be in the house? How can a toilet be in the house? It was out of it's something we couldn't figure out. Kuti saka kwa toilet inogara mumba sei nemanhwira inoita. What I'm saying is we didn't have those. Kana kuti even when the schools were closed in 1979, kuti aiwa vanachinda yekutown munodzidza kutown, there was no that opportunity because we were a growing family. The few brothers and sisters who were working, there were very few, and some of them ari mateachers kwakwafa kwawo chikoro. Saka there was no zvokuti kainoenda kwarani ndinogara kwatete kana kwabhuti kana kwasisi ndikondiye nechikoro. It was just chikoro chavhagwa tozozviona pachovhurigwa ipapo.
Mukambotanga kutamba nembudzi mukatwina. Saka makatombotuinawo
kwaGutu. Kurwizi kutuina ere, it was the best pastime because we had the cattle kadzaguta. Around lunchtime we take them to the river kunomwa mvura. That's the time we then do swimming. And I can still swim now.
Now
before gym kunoita swimming, tichitoita swimming, and people think that I trained swimming. It was just
but mvura yeblue kai.
Takangodzidza mudhidhe imomo. I remember one year I actually nearly drowned in the river.
Kumusha
taenda kotwina kudziva, and then I think I just went to the deep end and ndikabva ndanyura. No one noticed kuti andipo. Just sing. Ndatombwa ndamwa zvimakafu, just sing. Then for some reason I managed to just people vangozona ndagara ndakati zii ndakadzikama vasingazivi kuti aizvo munatodzoswa.
Itsuro yapona murutsve.
Yeah. So
Before taenda pekuti mimi maenda kuchikoro, mazove kusekondari kuboarding school, I want to go back pamararama pamuri kumusha. Which part of that would you say I would also want vana vangu to experience? Because what we are seeing now is we have parents who are shielding vana vavo kubva ku almost everything they went through. Wotonzwa munhu achidada kuti I don't want my kids to go what I went through, whereas it made us stronger.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. No, it's just kuti things happen in life, and you would want vana vako to experience what you went through for them to appreciate life. Not protected life where everything is given and everything is provided and hapana chaunoshaya. It's kind of an artificial life, because sometimes if you don't plan your things well, that life, your children do not necessarily inherit that life. They at some point have to earn their own life and their own income and so sometimes some may be lucky enough to inherit their parents' wealth, but not all children who inherit their parents' wealth. So I have tried to bring my children back to the village, do the walk from home to the school, and tell them that this is what we used to do every day, barefooted, whether it's winter or it's scorching hot, it doesn't matter. Taitongofamba netsoka. And kuenda ku neighboring school kumasports, waitengeenda netsoka. So kunosvika kuti kwaenda neti handichakwanisi kutamba bhora, handichakwanisi kutamba netball, kwakusina.
Wotosvika urikava usina kuti
utongosvika utotanga kutoimba kuti tauya kuzokurumbira. I still remember some of the songs.
Istauya pano daitauya tose daitiri vazhinji nhasi taionana. In your village pakamboitawo here akaita TV? Inini growing up ndatonzi tangai mageza musati maikuya kuzona TV.
Zvazviri kuti zvokutaundishipi izvo.
Kwenyu hakuna kuuya TV?
No, not even. That's another thing. Like I told you, my fascination was how can a toilet be in the house? The other fascination was TV yachakamboita sei. TV yachakamboita sei until early teens or mid teens actually, because of the year taken out by the war. Kuzoenda kuform 1 kwacho we were already like 15. And ndozotanga ndozoita TVs. And waitotya kuibata because we didn't know kuti inoita sei. Sazoti kwai muvillage mazoita TV, this is a new thing. Zvozoti kwava nesolar, wakutengerawo maisolar, wakuvatengera TV, this and that. But otherwise, in nowadays, we just grow up. Pachazongoenderawo kutown ndo pachazozivira TV. Saka things have moved on and things have changed, and a lot of people in the village now have upgraded. But otherwise, in our days, kuma 70s and early 80s, no. Kwakusina zvakadero.
Waitonyazoziva kuti kana ndiri kumusha, kumusha kwekuti kumusha.
Kumusha
tine mbudzi, mombe nehuku. Zvimwe zvese izvizvi.
Zvimwe zvese luxury.
Motobatidza rambi rine parafini mukati,
ndoyavatoverengesa. Ndoyavatoverengesa. Even wadzoka kuboarding kwacho nimba maholiday, it wasn't like unobva kuholiday woti ina zoda kuenda kumusha, nda kuenda kuverengera kugweru kana ndoda kuverengera kupi. Zvikoro zvichingovhakwa kumusha. Zvichingonosvika kumusha wotodza ndione dzoro remombe mangwana. So pasina zvokuti chichi ndione kuti dzoro remombe mangwana wakutoita part of the process ye value chain yekuvillage yacho. Saka it wasn't that, but we never noticed because that was the life. It was the only life we knew, so it was acceptable. Like I said, in the poverty, the way we functioned, the way our parents made us function with the high numbers we were, was to elevate above everyone, to be the family that everyone looked up to in the village, to say, zvavo, tonditi zvavo endisina bhutsu. Saka because taita production yekuti head count yembudzi we had the highest number, head count yemombe we had the highest number. In the winter we had winter crops, in the summer we had summer crops, and something was always going on. The parents had to feed the children until the older children grew up and started picking up the support and help each other, and then bring up the younger ones until everyone was through the system.
So going to boarding school, kwakatengeswa mombe kuti muende kuzvikoro here?
Isusu likely were the younger ones of the 18. Like in the 18, there's the last brother, then my sister who is late, then the two of us. I'm a twin. I've got a twin brother. So we are right on the bottom of the 18. So by the time we were going to boarding, a system had developed, thankfully to the older brothers and sisters and everyone, in my parents, kuti vanga developa system yoti unotoallocatwa mwana wechikoro tiondoona iwe wakusevenza unopinza ningi, iwe wakusevenza unopinza ningi.
Something we don't see now. Munhu angoti kana akuzvishandira kuti no, imimi vana venyu take care of them.
Take care, yeah. Saka yaita sikutoti iwe wakusevenza unopinza ningi, iwe wakusevenza unopinza ningi. Saka then by the time atikazoenda kuchikoro isusu, the last ones, my older brothers, my older sisters were working.
Asiwo vakanga vaendeswa nemari yemombe.
Zvatoita kuti mari yemombe, but it was really a big sacrifice, and you can't even thank them enough, because vangoti uchingonoti uchitanga kusevenza, like my oldest sister in the family, she had to sacrifice a lot. She not getting married on time to see through some of the brothers, the older brothers and older sisters, and then after getting married, zvoti mukwasha anoti kwai tanobvisa pfuma, saka kumusha kwenyu hapachina chinoinda. Kwedu yaitouya iri fees. Waitova nefees wakarohwa uchitobhadharira mwana wamai vako chikoro. So it was some story. It was tough, but I thank God everyone pulled through, and the older brothers, the older sisters, everyone helped to see us through, the younger ones. It's an amazing story.
Maenda kuboarding, makanosvikoita form 4. Mukapasi. You went for A level? Mukapasi. Mukaenda kuuniversity? Chikomana chekwaGutu?
Yeah.
Okay. Mapedza university, what then did you start doing? Makadzidzira kuita basa rei?
Ku-university I did my first degree in finance ku-NUST, with the second intake ye-NUST, National University of Science and Technology in Bulawayo, with the second intake. 1992. So did my degree again. It was just what you want to go and do your degree kunasti. I think kuna baba munini kana kuti sekuru vekwanhingi vari kubhuruwayo unonovatsvaga wasvika.
It happened like that.
Yeah, saka you then go ngonzi kuna nhingirikiri. I think kwakuna vamwe baba munini Pasura is late now, if he could rest in peace. So we went there, wonosvika unako kugara, when you wotsvaga nzvimbo yako wana nzvimbo, payout haisati yauya, and it was just like payout yozouya motsvaka pokurenda maita sei and these things. Saka was nhasi yanga isati yambovakwa, there was nothing, not even foundation. Yanga ichingova site yondo pachazovakwa university. Saka we used to go, taenda kuma lessons ku, there's a teacher's college iri Blue yanzi, can't remember now. Zita racho randitiza. But we used to do our lectures at that teacher's college. Then others were scattered all over Blue Wema Sciences, Polytech, everyone. So we were just scattered. But the education was good, and also that was the very first time when this concept attachment started, and Professor Makurani was our vice chancellor, and he was just a gifted man, also from Fletcher, by the way. He was a Fletcher high school boy where I went. But that's when the attachment system was introduced. So we did our programs. The education was quite good. Then we were sent out in third year to do attachment and gain more experience before finishing university. So it helped us, a lot of NAST students, to finish university. We had some bit of work experience. Then I think eventually all the institutions copied that from NAST.
Madzidza mapedza university mva kwataka kuita basa rei?
The concept of attachment helped because you will have had my contacts within the industry. Kwaita attachment, if you did well, I did very well with my attachment. I actually got a book prize for my attachment. The Ishandrapa 8th floor pa Cyprus Merchant Bank, Ichirunzi Zim Bank house. When I speak up, 8th floor, and I did my attachment, going around the departments, understanding all the work and the floors, everything, and they finished it. Then went back to final year university and finished my degree, finance. I walked back into Cyprus. It was just walking back into Cyprus to do professional work now. So I worked for a few years there. Then I got poached in Zimbabwe Development Bank when they bought an arm here, Standard Chartered Finance, lease, and it was mainly lease and hire purchase business. It was bought in Zimbabwe Development Bank, renamed to ZDB Financial Services. Then they poached me from there. Then I was working there until I left for UK.
Ndopatuda kunzwa ipapo munhu akushanda mubhenki wadza kungoziva kuti mwana wangu akushanda mubhenki kunyanya makore eyayo. Ndimi makanga muchonzi they've arrived. Saka what made you leave Zimbabwe? Munhu arikushanda mubhenki ko?
I don't know. It was just some of these things. They are just meant to happen. But by the time I left, I was way above where I should be in life in terms of, I think I would say, by that time, vanhu vezera rangu would celebrate kuti ndava kurenda 2 rooms. Ini ndatotenga imba. I was because when you were working in the bank, it was always an advantage to get a loan to buy your house very quickly at a young age. So you would acquire your first house very early. Then by the time I left 2001, I was already a manager there, and we got new cars in plastic from Quest Motors, and I remember driving the cars just before we left. And I remember, for some reason, it so happened that my friend who was from uni, from NAST, he was working for Zimri reinsurance guys, and for some reason he got exactly the same car with mine and also new.
Mama
So
kunge
that was
twins,
that was I think unana June, July, August there. Remember driving tine mota dzedu dzakafanana kudai, him, his wife, and myself and my wife going to Vic Falls. Then in September, October, November, that's when I left. So I left my car in less than 5,000 kilometers.
I want to understand what pushed you to go, because tukutara nyaya munhu almost everything is going well for you. Imba yapo ndofunga mazoevo paitomboembwa nziyo kunzi kabasa kepamusoro kanemba nemotikari. You have that.
Yeah.
So what made you say I am going kuchando?
I don't know. It was just I think because I always wanted to do more in terms of my education. So I think it was just the opportunity to go and do the master's degree. Because even going through the British Council scholarship program, the assessments, the rounds you have to do, I think that year, I think I picked 8 out of hundreds of people to go for the scholarship. And the requirement was there, you go and get educated, come back and develop your country. That was the condition, but for some reason,
so mashika ikoko tutara nyaya ya manager panapa kuti people muchitosvika runzi chef vauya mashika ako muri kuenda kuchikoro, yes, but you had to survive somehow. How did you live?
Initially it was easy because Tatripa scholarship, the only thing we had to self-fund was the ticket to go. Then when you get there, you have your fees are paid, you get a monthly allowance. If you save a bit of it, I actually saved a bit of the money and managed to pay off the Chikwere Chachasara on my house here. And I think I went in September, and by November it saved enough money to bring my wife over. So my wife joined me in November.
You were saving it from Maria Maipiwa?
Yeah, it wasn't much, but a village boy knows how to survive. Instead of eating meat every day, we go to the market, buy mushroom, cook them nicely, eat with sadza. Or one day eat vegetables in a sadza jet and save the money. So it wasn't huge money, but you could save a bit, yeah.
For how many years were you in school?
It was just 1 year.
1 year. So after 1 year, you then got a good job, like the good job you had back home?
Not
Mane
really.
Masters Cup.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. That was probably the biggest and the toughest part of it, really. Because after completing my degree and with the work experience I had, it was like you would walk into any bank into the UK and and have a managerial role. Because I had graduated with my first class master's degree in international banking and finance, best student in a class of 150 or so international students. Yeah, I had the best results, first class master's degree. And I remember my lecturer asking me to say, you can just do a bit more on your thesis. 2 years, then you can have PhD. But I was not motivated to go the route of PhD, end up into lecturing. Then I said, I'll come back. Then I didn't come back. But I could have just done a bit more work on my thesis because he graded it so highly. He gave me a distinction on my thesis and said, just do a bit more work, then we can work on it as a PhD thesis. I said, I want to go and try the work thing. Then he started looking for a job, and you go to my interviews, you get the interviews, you go there, they can tell you no, but then I think because of my rural accent, then I think it was stronger than now, but much more stronger. Voice yokutsvaga mombe nokutsvaga vana manzuma. Saka it was so strong, so they would realize I know.
Accent kwaGutu yakanobudira kuLondon.
Yeah, so they could tell I know my stuff, but then it was a more like a relationship management role. So the main thing became, how are you going to really work? I think also the society was then a bit more closed than now, where diversity is tolerated. Then it was a bit more closed. It's like I remember jokingly saying, after doing the interviews, and then people will say, but what? You're not telling them, so you think I can't speak English? Clearly, you think I can't speak English. Give me a paper and I will show you that you write the best English. So that was some phase where you really
pakutaura parurimi tukataiwa mukomana tina kuwirirana.
Yeah, saka that was the challenge. Then eventually I got another opportunity with some company yaita zvema mortgage advisory and insurance. When I got this company yaita zvema mortgages to interview me, then they realized I know my stuff. But then the unfortunate thing in UK was that certain roles you just have to have the specific qualification. It doesn't matter in a PhD in finance, you can't just then be registered as a qualified mortgage advisor, because you need a specific professional role for that thing. So when I had interviews them, they then said, tokwanisa kukupa basa, but you need, tikakupa basa, we'll train you at this course to kubonda. Tikati nezvekubondwa handidi. In fact, before that role, I got a role through another company, yaita placement. Then they placed me as a credit controller. Then going there as a credit controller, with all the knowledge I had from university, I could pick a company on a stock exchange and evaluate kuti price very over or under. This is the stock to buy, this is the stock to sell. I could do that from the university training. I then got a job as a credit controller and doing credit control. Again, being black in a predominantly white society, these old ladies who were in the credit control would not give me anything to do with the credit control. They would do everything. My companies are already taking my computer on credit, assess them and do everything. Then I pay on the file. And I pay every day on the file. Then I said, then I thought I was being clever, but I didn't realize I was shooting myself. Well, one lunchtime I said, I got him, I got the manager. I said to the manager, did you want a filing clerk? Or did you want a credit controller? Because then on my way home, I got a call because the company has decided
to let you go.
We need to let some people go. So we are just getting rid of the people who are joining. That was it. Because I confronted the manager. Mom should have clicked you. Credit controller because every time I'm doing that, I was file this one. Ndomba ndadzingwa.
Basa rapera.
Yeah, then basa rapera.
Mukadzi ariko kuLondon?
Yeah, my wife was already there as well. Yeah. Then basa rapera, and that was around the time as well. University yapera, scholarship allowances zapera. Then my wife, when she joined me, when I left, we didn't even know my wife was pregnant. Then she joined me, and when I was writing my final exams, I was actually doing my studying. I turned study in the hospital with my wife. Yeah, I had meet for delivery, and then from there going to write exam. Then we managed to kuzounza my mother-in-law after mwana azvarwa kuti vazotisupport just before azvarwa.
Ini mwana eda yari wangu ndaimuti degree. Because kuenda ndikunoona mwana ada kuzvarwa, ndiri kuuya kundikuya kuzostata and ndobva ndaita futi exceptionally well.
Yeah, so then after ndadzingwa ku credit control ndoba ndikazoenda kunere ku mortgage. Then they said upon you ndikati no, course yacho inonzi chii. I had a lot of momentum from studying. Number one, course I researched on it and got my materials and went out and wrote the exams and finished very quickly. Within a month, I had finished my modules. Then I stayed with them a bit. From there, that's when I started my own company. But when I was studying for these professional courses, because I didn't have any other way of living, my wife was on maternity, kind of unpaid maternity, health-wise. Then scholarship, my scholarship yapera. I had no other way of surviving except to pick up my jobs, care work. I remember going to care work. I remember doing a security guard. So the courses I actually did them through security guard.
Okay, so today we are talking kumunhu ane company yakakura muLondon. Akatomboita security guard. Abva kuita manager kuno kuZimbabwe. Osvika oita security guard. Now, talking to you now, we know kuti ndimukudzi big shots acho. Makatanga sei company yeDiaspora Insurance?
Diaspora Insurance. Peace of mind guaranteed.
Yeah, it was again, I think some things feed from your background and how you perceive things and how you want to create a solution for every problem you see. So when I started my finance company, it was mainly to realize that when I was trying to place my clients and under otanga kuwana, vanaripa asylum, vanaripa my work permits, the company was rejecting them. Then I realized there was an opportunity to start my own company and start serving these people. That's when I started my own company. It was very tough, but gradually we grew. We acquired more clients and grew. And then we were hit by the credit crunch. We soldiered on after credit crunch in 2008, 2009. And I kept on doing the mortgage stuff and the insurance stuff. Then 2010, that's when I noticed that this was not going anywhere. We used to bank money every day and tichitogara tine mari mucompany bank account short. What do I do with this money? But then it all dried to nothing. Saka stage you started paying employees using overdraft. Then when eventually everyone left, you are left with your debts. So I had to think through my options. Then I saw the opportunity of most diasporans, especially first generation migrants, they want to be taken home when they die. And we were getting a lot of cases where people were staying in mortuary for months before being repatriated because their families could not raise the money. And I started doing my proposals, looking at saying, no, we want a framework, an institutionalized framework where we set up an operation which is intergenerational, not a burial society type of nature or a pyramid type of nature which benefits just a few and collapse. So we wanted something which is institutional, correct structure in terms of underwriting, in terms of reinsurance. So we started working on that product as fate would have it. Working on that product, 2011, I lost my very best friend in the UK. Lincoln Makotore is buried in Masvingo, and may his soul rest in peace. That was February. I'm doing this concept here, Kuti. We need a solution to diaspora death and diaspora repatriation. February 2012, the following year, I started fearing February, what's going to happen in February now. The following year, 2012, my brother, the only brother who had joined me in the UK, was hit by a car in Warrington in the UK. And the following week, I was on my way driving. I had gone to see him in Warrington Hospital. Then they transferred him to go and do a hip operation at Liverpool Hospital, the bigger hospital. Driving on the motorway, I got a call from the hospital. And they said, I'm driving. Can you talk? I knew something was terribly wrong. Then they said, no, your brother is passed away. And that was in February. In April, we wrote our first policies. But the two cases, my best friend, my brother, we have had to do family fundraising. In fact, it was when you are in that situation, you really you have a challenge. Most diasporans, most of the family members back home, they are not able to support you to finance the cost. You have to fund it yourself and deal with it yourself in the diaspora. Because apparently what happens with most of my diasporas is that over the years you become the cash cow for the village. You become the cash cow for the clan. So money doesn't flow the other way. Money flows the one way. So you get messages with Murukuya name and you can't tell them kuti mufe hapana chaasiya. Inini mubank account mangu mune minus £5. So you really have this situation. You see, realize family after family, they are going through the same pain, the same trouble.
Ende vakatoziva kuti kune ari kudiaspora hapana nobvisa chemo.
Yeah, vanenge vototi ende paunosvika pacho nowabva if you make it to bring the deceased home, wasvika you may find yourself having to pick the bills locally as well, because vanhu vanenge vasingachada kakudya makavechi. Pane munhu abva kuNew York kana kuti kuSydney kana kuti kuAustralia kana kuti kuUK
vanotodedzera kuti
nhamo iyi
hanzi inonzi nhamo yevanhu vari kudiaspora inonzi funeral, haisi nhamo. Saka pafuneral hapadyi makabeji.
Saka unenge wakazvifarira izingira makavechi avo kana masvika vanzi kwanza kwanhinge kwemombe iri kutengeswa. Saka I've had clients complaining to me kuti before they even bring the body back home, they've had to finance kutenga mombe yapera. Kutodzwa kuti mombe yamukatenga nyama yapera, can you buy imwe? So those kind of things happen. But the key point ndeyekuti we needed a solution. We needed to craft a solution that was for the common good of everyone, and a sustainable solution which is intergenerational financial security. Pakuti scheme okuti vanhu vangeta come together mobatana moita mudemha mosupportana moita sei. One, you don't raise enough money. Two, they tend to collapse over time. They are not very strong. They are strong in communities. The reason why they collapse sometimes it's because it's good to have such a scheme. Muna mukumbadzetse kumfa kwose kana kuti muna this road, whichever road you can name, but they are because people are more together. People are more together.
Why did you just say Mkumbadzetse? Because I grew up in Mkumbadzetse.
I don't even know it. I don't even know it exists. It's just an example. Zaka, you find with my schemes that thrive in communities where people are bonded together by their closeness. My parents are Akakurira imomo, vana vakakurira ipapo, so they are bonded. They can support each other. It's more like a village thing. But when you go into Borodale, I can bet you to my last penny, there's no single burial society in Borodale, Bruku there.
Kunyangwe naye zvinezvi maburial society acho anenge akaenda nemagenerations akudhara.
Saka people have become more individualistic and we are no longer as communal as we used to be. Saka what you find is people were trying to survive by doing that, but there's no sustainability. Saka wanted something that was a long-term solution. That's how we ended up coming up with the whole vision or idea. Let's create something to serve the community. I've put it that civilization is when a people can craft solutions for their common good. That's when you can say you are civilized. You can't be haunted by the same problem year in after year, generation after generation, and you don't create a solution and say we are a civilized people. It brings the whole community. Madiasporans achakamboita seko into disrepute. Why do you have to beg for money every time pafiwa? What is your solution? So we came in to say this is the solution that we need to do, where we can intervene financially and support my bereaved families. Intervention actually should be in such that your choice or your location over time should not matter, because they are both fluid over the long term. You find yourself in the UK, most Zimbabweans and other African nationalities I know, sometimes the moment they get their British passport, it's like you can walk into Australia. So some take the opportunity to relocate to Australia because the weather is better. You can have bigger houses, you can have better things there. And once a migrant, forever a migrant sometimes. So we didn't want to tie people to a solution which says tichakubvisa kuLondon, tokisa kuKenya, katokisa kuNigeria, katokisa kuZimbabwe. We wanted a solution in which you choose what you want. If you want to be buried home, it's your choice. If you want to be buried abroad, it's your choice. If you want repatriation, it's your choice. And if you want cremation, it's your choice. You should use the same money, the same policy. That was the thinking from the beginning, and it's still relevant now 13 years later.
And according to you, solution yamakaya nayo was mari haifanirwi kutadzisa munhu choice yaari kuda. Kana kuri kuenda kumusha, mari must not be a problem. That's where we have come as a solution.
Yeah.
Now, as we are closing this, can you just tell us, because panda taura kuti ndungoti diaspora is big. Tell us, how big is diaspora?
Yeah, we have grown exponentially over the years, really, because we started writing just Zimbabweans, then from a completely unknown position, who are these guys, who is this company? Then we added Zambians. We now writing insurance, Diaspora Insurance, into 20 African nationalities. So we're doing it just gradually as we build our capacity to support and deliver on the promise. But we now do in Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan for as many as 20 African nationalities. So be it Nigerians, Kenyans, Ethiopians, Tanzanian, Uganda, Rwanda, Mozambique, Zambia, Lesotho, or the like South Africa, wherever they are globally, they are supported by our product. And we do a lot of business in terms of supporting the communities. We are regulated by the regulator in the UK, the Financial Conduct Authority, which gives a lot of confidence to our processes. And we also underwrite into one of the biggest underwriters in the world and reinsure into Africa Re. For those ones who are in the know about insurance, they know the significance of that. But we've grown exponentially, and we have our head office in Birmingham, in UK, and we've paid in excess of 5 million in terms of cash handouts to bereaved families, and our annual turnover now is multi-million. We really have a very big operation now. Yeah.
As we close, tikuda kunzwa chikomana chekwaGutu kuti what you can leave kuvanhu vakateerera chirongwa chino ichi. Tiri kuona mukomana akurira kwaGutu, and now ane zita riri kuzivikanwa nyika dzese. Ndakutoti nyika dzese, nekuti hazvinei kuti wabva muAfrican country ipi uchienda kuAmerica, uchienda kuUK, uchienda kuAustralia. Diaspora Insurance yakunge mai vemunhu wese, wekuti hatisi kuda kuti uti ndakatadza kuenda kunovigwa kumusha nekuti andina mari. Nekuti tinoziva kuti isusu panhu atema unonzwa mari chindoda kuenda kune rukuvhute rwangu. Saka mari nekuda kweDiaspora Insurance, mari haichatadzisa munhu kuenda kune rukuvhute rwake. Mashoko amunoda kusiyira vanhu, kunyanya tichibva kubackground yamakakurira kusvika pamuri izvozvi.
Our solution is kuti munhu kana uchida kuvigwa kwaanoda kuvigwa, and that position is not fixed, it changes over time. You may find kuti as I speak, I may have a fixation on ndichada kuvigwa kumusha kuma parents, kune ma siblings. If I'm blessed with longevity, I outlive people who matter to me back home. I want to use the same money to be buried abroad. We've had situations where someone comes to Zimbabwe, dies in Zimbabwe, and say, no, my family is in UK. And we finance the repatriation back to UK.
That actually happens?
Yeah, it happens, yeah. The point really is, for most people, it's important to understand that your background, your current situation, be it a current situation of poverty, should never define you. The key point is that you are not your problems. You are your problems solver. So you should always rise up to conquer your problems, rather than saying, me, I am grounded. And then you ground yourself there. And in life, as you soldier on, people should always appreciate and know that when you see problems happening, don't look at them as a problem. If you can identify that is a problem, it means it's a signal to you that this needs a solution. That's the point you should look at, how you should look at things. It's a problem, but it's a signal to you that it needs a solution. How far can you go yourself in creating the solution? And you find that as that happens always, you find yourself going up, 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 up. Because in life, there are always going to be problems. There are always going to be people who need support. And as you rise, you also should never forget that there are people who have remained behind who are less privileged than you. That's why you find sometimes I look like crazy. If you see the library and ICT center I built for my primary school, it's probably by size of school, relative to size of school and location, is probably the biggest library and ICT center in Zimbabwe, not maybe in Southern Africa. And to just invest that money there, some people think I'm crazy, but it's because as you go up the ladder, you are wounded by the reality that there are some people who are still stuck in the old in your old reality, and those people need help. So we try, and there's no one. Sometimes people don't help because they think they are too poor to help themselves. There's someone who is poorer than you, help them. If I can help by buying a bread, you will never do a bigger investment you help someone if you have never done a small one. So it's incremental. You don't just wake up today and you say, I'm going to build a classroom block at a school, when you have never donated even pens or balls that you knew when you were growing up. Break time, you didn't have anything to play. And you can't donate a football. There's no way you work tomorrow and say, cry block. So it's incremental. Do what you can at the point you are. There's no, you are never the poorest person in the world. In your poverty, you are able to help someone. I don't view myself as rich, but in whatever little I have, I make sure I sacrifice to help the next person. And it becomes my story.
Mr. Madzingo, toda kukutendai kuva nesu pachirongwa My Story. Sekutaura kwataita kuti dzimwe dzenyaya dzinouya panapa dzinotipa shungu. Senge inini ndapiwa shungu. Hanzi haukwanise kuzotanga kuita chinhu chihombe watadza kuita chidiki. Pane waunokwanisa kubatsira even musituation yauinayo. Asiwo mukukurukura Mr. Madzingo vataura kuti munhu wese une maproblems, asi unokwanisa iwewe kuva munhu anosolva maproblems iyayo. Diaspora Insurance. Mukada kuziva zvizhinji pamusoro peDiaspora Insurance, pane nhamba dziri kubuda pachivhitivhiti. Mukabata vanhu ivavo vanokwanisa kukubatsirai pamusoro peDiaspora Insurance. Nekuti munhu wese anoda kuenda paanobuda munyika munomu nerufu, anoda kuenda nenzira iri dignified. Ngatisanganei zvakare svondo rinouya muchirongwa My Story. Musakanganwe kuita subscribe.
Leave your family with love and dignity, not financial burden. At Diaspora Insurance, no medical checks are needed, guaranteed acceptance. Cover yourself and loved ones globally for diasporans and family back home. We offer immediate cash payout within 24 hours. Choose how you're remembered with our flexible cover: burial, repatriation, or cremation. Protect yourself and family, peace of mind guaranteed. Get your peace of mind today. Visit diasporainsurance.com.